Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Sip&Talkers, wherever you are in the world, and welcome back to Sip&Talk.
Welcome back, everyone.
I have to say, we have a really difficult conversation to start with today.
Yeah.
The news that came out of Sydney, Australia, targeting the Jewish community near the famous Bondi beach. It's just gut-wrenching.
It is.
An attack based on hate aimed at civilians celebrating a holiday. It just makes you question what century we are actually living in.
It really does. I mean, Bondi Beach is, it's synonymous with peace and multiculturalism.
Sunshine and surf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And now it's become a stage for this type of calculated, specific hatred.
So I think our goal on Sip and Talk today is about more than just reporting on the tragedy.
For sure. We need to explain the ideological boundaries that are so often blurred. We have to define precisely what anti-Semitism is, and then how do we differentiate that from, legitimate political criticism?
I think so many of us globally default to thinking, oh, that's an isolated Middle East conflict.
Right. It's over there.
It's over there. But when this kind of hatred spreads all the way to Australian beaches, or when it manifests violently on European college campuses, it becomes a problem that everyone has to confront.
It's everyone's problem, man.
Our mission today is just a rational, unbiased look at this deep tension. So where do we even begin to draw that ideological line?
Well, to start building that framework, we have to look at the facts of the incident itself. The event occurred on December 14th, 2025, at the Bondi Beach Park playground.
And the sources really emphasize the emotional weight of the target, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was the first day of Hanukkah.
The Jewish Festival of Lights.
Yeah. And there were over 1,000 members of the Shabbat of Bondi community gathered there. Families, children.
The choice of target and that timing, it's absolutely critical to understanding the intent, isn't it?
It's everything.
It wasn't a military base or a government building. It was families celebrating light.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the timing is it's deeply resonant. The attack occurred exactly 800 days after the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack on Israel.
Wow.
So this isn't just a random crime. It's happening against a backdrop of massively increased global tensions and a feeling of siege among Jewish communities worldwide.
It just underscores that this kind of hatred isn't spontaneous.
No, it's reactive and it's globally contagious.
So let's focus on the mechanics of the attack, because the level of preparation suggests something much more organized than just a lone actor.
The initial reports describe 2 gunmen rushing out of a vehicle.
Using automatic weapons.
Suspected assault rifles, yeah. And they specifically targeted Jewish families and children who were gathered for the celebration, all while shouting specific religious and ideological slogans. The violence was just indiscriminate.
I read this one detail about an incredibly brave, elderly person attempting to fight one of the gunmen.
Yeah, trying to disarm them.
That moment of self-sacrifice amidst the chaos really just brings home the pure terror of the situation.
It does. And the immediate aftermath revealed the attacker's intentions even further.
So one gunman was killed by police.
Right, and the other, identified as Naveed Akram, was arrested. But critically, authorities later discovered an explosive device inside their vehicle.
An IED.
Yeah. That single detail moves this from a spontaneous shooting to a planned act of mass terror.
Which is why the official response was so immediate and so strong.
It had to be. We saw Australian authorities, including Premier Chris Minns and the Prime Minister, formally classify this immediately.
They called it anti-Semitic terrorism.
And one of Australia's darkest days.
That formal classification, that's pivotal for our conversation today, isn't it?
It is. It means the authorities recognized the motive wasn't just political dissent or generic violence.
It was specific.
It was specific ethnic and religious hate, which demands a completely different investigative and legislative response.
Okay, so moving beyond the immediate facts of the attack, we have to look at why this is happening now and why this wave of hatred seems to be spreading globally.
Right, the context.
Let's talk about the context.
Well, if we look at the historical and social situation, this attack happened during an unprecedented spike in anti-Semitic incidents all over the world.
And that surge began right after the conflict escalated in the Middle East in October 2023.
Exactly. And Sydney, like so many other Western cities, was already recording incidents, threats, specific graffiti, minor assaults.
The community was already on edge.
They were living under extreme pressure already.
So what are the investigators focusing on now that the initial facts are established?
The investigation is a joint effort between the federal police and ASIO.
That's the Australian Security Intelligence Organization, right? Their domestic spy agency.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And their involvement signifies the severity of this. They're not just looking at a petty crime.
No.
Their focus is laser sharp. The motive, the sourcing of the automatic weapons, which are highly restricted in Australia, and any potential links to wider Islamic extremism networks.
You know, this event has severely impacted Australia's image of peaceful diversity. I mean, after the 2024 Bondi Junction stabbing, which was just devastating, but seemed like a random act.
A random act of mass violence, yeah.
This attack is different because it was so specifically targeted.
And that raises a really important question about our modern environment, right?
Oh.
We saw an immediate, rapid spread of conspiracy theories and biased accusations on social media.
Instantly.
The information ecosystem almost immediately weaponized the attack. Police actually had to issue public warnings against circulating unverified rumors.
It's the new reality, isn't it? The information overload fuels the chaos just as fast as the physical act itself.
Absolutely. And when security is breached this severely, the legal system inevitably reacts.
So what are the anticipated legislative changes?
Well, this tragedy is expected to push for stricter anti-terrorism laws.
Which could mean more scrutiny on migration policies, border security.
For sure, especially given the background of the arrested suspect and the clear link authorities are drawing to ideological extremism.
And what about the community itself?
Jewish community leaders are using this moment to press for mandatory anti-hate education and, of course, increased physical security for cultural institutions. The fallout is immense. It's touching every part of Australian society.
And that brings us to what I think truly matters for the informed global citizen.
The crucial distinction.
We have to talk about that line between criticizing a country's policy and just hating an entire people.
This is the core intellectual task. For so many people listening, this conflict seems impossibly complex, a tangled knot of history, religion, land claims.
It's overwhelming.
It is. But if you look at the trajectory, the contemporary conflict often starts as a political struggle over land and sovereignty. But then, tragically, it metastasizes into a generalized hatred of all Jewish people, regardless of where they live or what their political views are.
We see this dynamic play out daily in global protests. I mean, in Europe and North America, pro-Palestine demonstrations are common. We need to dissect the elements driving those protests because it's not just one thing, is it?
No, that's vital context. We can break down the global protest phenomenon into really three understandable factors.
Okay.
First, you have pure humanitarian empathy. Just people caring deeply about innocent victims in conflict zones. That's a universal human response.
Of course.
Second, there is a strong religious and cultural linkage solidarity within the Arab and Muslim diaspora that connects people across continents.
And the third?
The third is genuine anti-imperialist politics, legitimate critiques of perceived foreign policies, historical land appropriation, or colonialism.
Okay, so those three are valid, understandable drivers for political opposition and for activism.
Totally valid.
But the moment you jump from those 3 points of political action to generalized physical hatred, that's the ideological cliff edge we're talking about.
Precisely. Let's make this distinction usable for you, the listener. We have to clearly define the separation between political dissent and a racial prejudice.
Okay, so on one side we have anti-Zionism. This means you are engaging in legitimate opposition to the actions, the policies, or even the foundational premise of the Israeli government.
Yeah.
You are criticizing what they did. It's a political critique aimed at a state.
And on the other side, we have antisemitism. This is hatred, prejudice, or discrimination directed against Jewish people simply for being Jewish.
Hating them for what they are.
Yes. This is racial and ethnic hatred aimed at an identity. And the Bondi attack, by targeting Jewish families celebrating a holiday, fell squarely into that latter category.
That distinction is so incredibly important because people frequently blur those lines, either out of genuine confusion or sometimes deliberate malice.
Let's use that simple analogy we talked about to ground this.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. Think about a massive publicly traded tech company. Let's call them Megacorp.
Megacorp. I like it.
And let's say they engage in business practices, exploiting labor, avoiding taxes, that you find morally reprehensible.
Okay, so I'm furious at Megacorp's pricing strategies and their labor policies.
Right. You can be anti-Megacorp policy. That is a legitimate political critique of a corporate entity's actions. You can protest outside their headquarters, demand they change.
But that doesn't mean I walk into the cafeteria and start shouting racial slurs at every single person who works there simply because they're employees of Megacorp.
Exactly. Your anger is focused on the policy, the action of the entity.
not the people.
The moment your anger shifts from the corporate entity's actions to the demonization of the entire group of individuals, the employees, the Jewish citizen, the Muslim neighbor, you have crossed the line from policy critique into pure targeted hate.
And the problem is that in the context of the Middle East, that political critique so often becomes the cover for racial hate.
So the intellectual discipline required of every global citizen is to ensure your fury over the actions of the Israeli state remains targeted at the actions,
not the identity of every Jewish person globally. And the same discipline applies to ensuring political anger never targets the innocent Palestinian population who are suffering under the policies being protested.
So if we had to give one simple philosophical summary to someone trying to understand the core reason this conflict keeps flaring up globally, what would it be?
I would emphasize that the contemporary struggle has largely shifted away from ancient religious quarrels. At its heart, it is a profound political tragedy.
A political tragedy.
Yeah, it's rooted in the fact that two national groups desperately want security, belonging, and sovereignty on the very same piece of land. Both feel entitled to it, and both feel fundamentally insecure without it.
And that desperation, that fear of erasure, it defines this tragic zero-sum game. It's a clash between my right to survive and your right to survive.
That's it.
So for you, the global citizen listening right now, the simple takeaway from all this is what?
Always require precise language and logic from yourself and from others. If you choose to engage with this topic, you have to learn to ask, am I criticizing the Israeli government for what they did, which is reasonable anti-Zionism, or am I hating the entire Jewish population simply for what they are, which is dangerous anti-Semitism?
We have to choose kindness over anger and never transfer political fury onto an innocent population. Criticize the policy, demand justice for actions, but never, ever target an identity.
That is the critical distinction we all have to maintain.
We truly hope this conversation has helped provide you with a clearer, more objective lens through which to view this ongoing international crisis.
This complexity requires thought, not just instinct.
Thank you so much for joining us for this crucial discussion. Please be sure to subscribe to the Sip&Talk podcast wherever you're listening.
And a quick shout out to our good friend Mickey and his YouTube channel, Mickytolife. Go check it out.
Hope to see you next time.
Take care, everyone.